And we are live for another pregame show as we're getting ready for game 3 of the National League Championship Series as the series moves to east to Queens, New York at Citi Field, the home of the New York Mets. Both teams enter tonight's matchup tied at a game apiece as this best of 7 now turns into a best of 5 with home field advantage in the Mets court with all these 3 next games on the road. And then 2 at home if we get to that point. But before we dig into all the stuff that we're going to talk about today, including the lineup changes, the game 5 starter, looking at the week ahead, and especially analyzing this game tonight, let's thank our sponsor. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of that $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on the action of a game of blackjack, poker, or unwind with one of our 150 slot games. Head to the website today, get in on the action, bet online. The game starts here. And guys, the game that is about to start in just under an hour, give or take, 8:08 my time, 5:08 your guys' time. Big game 3 of the NLCS. Both teams got one win. Each team wants to get up one game up on each other. So, Steve, I'll go with you. Me and Carlos were on the show yesterday. We were talking about some potential lineup changes, and we'll go straight into it today. Will Smith is dropped in the batting order. We mentioned that it might have been a move that the Dodgers needed to make. We even went as far to say, hey, if his struggles continue, Austin Barnes has some good postseason numbers. Does he need a start to have Will Smith clear his head? What are your thoughts on just the lineup today and Will Smith going down?
I like the changes that were made. I don't know why with all these changes that they're so reluctant to mess around with Shohei at the top, but the moves that they did make lower in the lineup are good moves. I like Muncy batting fourth instead of Teoscar because we get that left-handed bat. We kind of attack with you get through. 3 of the first 4 hitters are left-handers against Severino. I like that. I like dropping Smith down a little lower, maybe being among the kind of back enders of the lineup will help him sort of find his groove again. We got a nice array of left-handers in that lineup, so maybe his right-handed bat will come in handy later in the game. I like the lineup moves. I think there's going to be a lot of potential for this lineup. I will see. Let's hope Shohei can get a hit or 2 with nobody on base, so we don't have to talk about this anymore. But it was a little disconcerting that Roberts completely cut off the idea of maybe batting him second or third, because flipping him and Mookie around. But whatever. I will give him credit for what he did do.
Carlos, we mentioned this yesterday in yesterday's live about, maybe needing to make some lineup change, whether it was Ohtani in the top of the order. More likely we were looking at, some smaller details, and Smith seemed to be the one that the Dodgers do see that there is a problem with so far. I mentioned yesterday's slash line just hitting, 0.87, 250 and 217 with the slash line, and his OPS is under 500. It was the right move for the Dodgers to drop Will Smith down to today's lineup, right?
Yes, drop him. I don't like where he's at though. I don't like how he breaks up the speedster. I don't like how he breaks up Gavin Lux and Tommy Edman. I like those guys back to back. I like that speed when they get on. They can wreak havoc because of their speed. So I don't mind that he got dropped, but where do you drop him? So I don't know, where do you put him? You put him ninth, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, not surprised he got dropped. I just don't like the spot he's in. Like I said, I like the speedsters to be together.
It's not the first time, you mentioned Gavin Lux. It's not the first time this season where he's made a jump in the batting order. For the most part this postseason, regardless of who was on the mound, he was kind of in that 8 or 9 hole. Now he's batting seventh. We saw what he did in the second half of the season. Are you surprised that he's kind of making the leap over Will Smith in this situation today? And is there any other notes that you have on tonight's lineup?
Well, yeah, I was trying to just look at, you know, I know that we're trying to do matchups, lefties against righties, and if I'm not mistaken, on the game that he pitched against the Phillies in the NLDS game number 2, the righties had more hits than lefties. So I don't know if necessarily that he's this a righty killer. So um, I don't like the left matchups when they get stuck like that because it only applies for him when he starts the game. Well, what happens when he gets out? When he gets out, it just goes to the bullpen, and then you're going to get a lefty at the end of the game when there might be, a crucial run on base, and then you're getting a lefty against Freddie and Muncy, as opposed to getting one, lefty matchup. So that's why I'm not crazy about it, but I know a lot of the people in the chat, people watching this, they kind of disagree that, they like the move. They like to see the lefties. I know the logic, because I heard Roberts mention, yeah, these lefties are gonna see him more than they will. Like last game, I think he faced 24 batters. So if we go 24 batters, we're going around the lineup twice plus 6. So then you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. So the 4 top lefties are going to see him about 3 times. So I get it. I get it. If that's you're sure that the lefties are going to hit him well, then yeah, of course it makes sense. But like I said, last game it was I believe it was Trey Turner who had 2 hits. I know that Bryce Harper had the home run. Then Castellano had the home run too, the back to back. So it was kind of a split. I mean, not a split. It was more hit by right-handed batters than lefties. And we're gonna go. Let's just stay with Servino. So he threw 74% strikes in that game. He had first pitch strikes. He had 17 out of 24 batters, and his Ks were 3 on sinkers, 1 on a changeup, 1 on a sweeper, 1 on a cutter, and only 1 on a fastball. And his pitch count was pretty low until he got to the 6th inning. So he throws a lot of strikes, first pitch strikes. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of approach we're going to take as a Dodger team. Are we going to take pitches? Because if we are, just based on this information, he's throwing first pitch strikes. So we're going to be behind the count. So are they going to take pitches or are they going to hit first? Are they going to be swinging first pitch?
Yeah, I think with the lineup construction, we mentioned yesterday, maybe, in October, maybe during the regular season, you expect to see, a lot of lineup changes, give or take on if someone's hot or cold, you play the hot hand and then, or you let somebody, work their way out of it, whether it's a week stretch, that's a bad stretch, a month bad stretch or whatever. In the postseason, me and Carlos mentioned, Steve, yesterday that, there is some aspect of simplicity that we like about, just letting the same 9 hitters go out there every day. Don't change the lineup order. But I think in this situation, it's a little bit overdue with Will Smith because it's not that he's just been bad in October. He's been bad since almost probably, I would say, June. He's been bad. He's been a below average hitter, a WRC plus under, right around 100 since the middle of the season. Not what you want out of a catcher who's more primarily known for slug rather than defense. Kind of seems like he did a complete 180 on us this year because he was actually better at defense and even got nominated for a Gold Glove this year. So props to him for fixing that problem, but it just seems like it has affected his hitting somewhat. Steve, I know you wrote, a lot of the pregame and postgame interviews about Dave Roberts and the lineup construction. Any other aspects that you would have made changes to if you were, the skipper behind the dugout?
Um, I think he's got the right 9 guys in the lineup. Yeah, we can quibble about where exactly they go, and I see Carlos's point about not breaking up Lux and Edman because that's some speed on the base paths, and it worked so well when they could get on for Shohei to knock him in. I don't know if I think they have to give Austin Barnes a look if they get nothing out of Smith today. I just think that you have to, maybe he needs to clear his head a bit. It's he did play in a day game after a night game, which they don't like catchers to do generally. But he did have a day off, so we'll see how he comes out of it today. But if it's another 0 for 5 or whatever, I can't see a real good argument for keeping him in the lineup, unless Yoshinobu has a preferred catcher. If he really likes working with Will Smith, then Will Smith should stay in the lineup. I mean, that's sort of how Austin Barnes got all his starts when Clayton Kershaw was around, right? So I would kind of defer to Yamamoto for who he wants his catcher to be tomorrow, because obviously tomorrow is going to be a huge game, win or lose this one. I mean, I'm still a little upset about game 2, but I think enough time has passed. I need to move on behind that. But I do see a lot of opportunity for this lineup to rebound today and really kind of, I mean, the top 5 guys in the lineup are not going to go 0 for 19 again. It was just, they just couldn't solve Manaea and the weird arm slot and the whole thing. And the first time they'd seen him pitching like that. And it kind of threw him for a loop, I guess. But it's not going to happen today. I guarantee that.
Yeah, I think if I'm going to give Will Smith some flowers here is, looking at his career stats at Citi Field and against the Mets. Against the Mets, he has 7 home runs in his career. He has 6 of them in Citi Field in this ballpark, hitting around 220, but the power is translated to this field. So that's one thing you're looking for. But I have to agree with you, Steve. If he has another 0 for today and he looks very unproductive, maybe he still starts tomorrow for Yamamoto, but when on Friday's game, it's not a night game. It's a mid-afternoon game here, or a late afternoon game here on the East Coast at 5:00. So Dodgers could opt to go with Austin Barnes in that situation, unless, say, they lose these next 2 games and they really they need to win Game 5 to stay alive. So I think it's going to be day by day, at bat. We'll see what happens. We're just hoping that Will Smith, can right the ship for the remaining 5 games of this series. But let's switch gears to Luis Severino, who, if you all remember, he used to be, a cornerstone of the Yankees teams in their starting rotation, signs the 1-year deal with the New York Mets in this offseason, and they've been kind of reaping the benefits of taking a chance on him. He was 2nd on the team in wins with 11, 3rd on the team in ERA at 3.91, and he led the Mets in innings pitched this season. And it was actually the most innings pitched he's pitched since 2018. He had 191 innings in 2018, and he had 182 innings this season. Combined the past couple seasons, it's not been well for him. 209 innings from 2019 to 2023. He's battled a Tommy John injury. He's battled an oblique injury. Hasn't been on his side. Questions of fatigue coming into this, Carlos. If you're a guy pitching this many innings through the regular season, you come into October, he's already made 2 starts, as we mentioned yesterday, 6 innings in each. So he's got 12 extra innings on his innings total this year. Could that be an advantage for the Dodgers, where this guy's, pitching the most innings of his career?
Well, I mean, typically the answer would be yes, but based on the last game, he was solid through 5. He was solid through 5. If I do the math really quick here, he was 30, 40, 50, 60, 64 pitches through 5 innings. So it was a 6. So what that tells me is this guy's probably going to go 5 today, and he's going to probably get pulled, and they won't even let him go into the 6th. So I think based on the previous game, it's not a factor. What will be a factor, and I'll go on the positive side for the Dodgers against Severino. Mookie Betts has the largest sample size in at-bats. He has 34 at-bats, 11 hits, batting .324 against him, with a home run and 4 doubles. So that's a good thing. The other 2 that have the bigger sample size is Kiermaier, but he's awful against him. He's batting 107, so obviously signed the starting lineup. And Teoscar. Teoscar has 11 at-bats, 2 hits, batting 182. Otani's got the rest. Everybody else has like less than 7 at-bats. Otani's got 6. He's 3 for 6. And one of those hits includes a home run. We got, who else looks decent here? Max Muncy, 2 at-bats, 1 hit. One of those hits was a home run. So you know, it's those are the positives. So like I said, I'm just curious to see what's the game plan with the Dodgers batting. Are they going to take pitches? Or are they going to swing first pitch?
Yeah, Don Kim actually puts that in the chat. You look at his last start against the Phillies. The Phillies, I know they've been known as the power offense, in the regular season, but in the second half, all the way up into October, they were not, the best offense. They were swinging, they were hyper aggressive. That is not the Dodgers' MO. The Dodgers like to be patient. They like to work counts. I think that 100% is the plan today, and they're going to work Severino. Carlos, I have to agree with you. I don't think he's going to go more than 5 innings today because I think the Mets, I think they're going to be aggressive today. They're going to try to get out to that early lead, try to get at least 5 innings out of Severino, and then go to their couple high leverage, arms in their bullpen to set them up for the rest of the week. Remains to be seen, what they do in that situation, but it'll be interesting to see how the game plays out, because I think if the Dodgers are playing the way that they've played all year, they should eat well off of Severino, who I think coming into today, his career ERA against the Dodgers in a couple appearances is north of 10. Last season when the Dodgers faced him, Mookie Betts, you mentioned, has the largest sample size. He went 4 for 4 that game with 2 home runs, one of them off Severino. So I think the Dodgers, they stack the lefties today for this reason. But Steve, what are we expecting from this lineup? You already mentioned they can't go another 0 for 19. We don't expect that to happen today. What are your anticipation for the Dodgers hitters versus Severino and this Mets bullpen, which if they have to be added to this bullpen, if they have to be added to this game early, that bodes well for the Dodgers because they have not been the best.
Right. Yeah. I think, it's here's where, game one, the Mets haven't had a lot of postseason success recently. The crowd's going to be way into it. It's crucial that the lineup gets off to a good start. I'd love to see a run or two on the board in the first. That would make me feel a whole lot better. I think the Dodgers are set up pretty well against Severino. I mean, he's been pitching good. Again, it's so hard to measure with these guys because just like Manaea, the Severino that the Dodgers saw the last time they saw him is not the Severino who's pitching today. Just so it's hard to even sort of make a prediction because you really don't know what you're going to get. But I think there is the fatigue factor that you mentioned. He's hitting his high for he is getting a little older. I could see the Dodgers jumping all over him. I don't expect it, but I could see it. So let's see how it plays out. But I mean, I think I'm less concerned about the hitters getting to Severino as I am about the Mets hitters getting to Walker Buehler. But that might be a topic coming up a little later.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect segue, Steve, to get into Walker Buehler. We know who the Mets are throwing. We know what their bullpen has done this October. We know what Luis Severino has in the tank. We'll see what he does for the Mets tonight. But Walker Buehler is the big question mark because take away that second inning last week in the NLDS. You're looking at a decent start of like 2 runs earned. Dodgers potentially winning that game. Defense failed him. It's failed him for most of the year. You can look up the stats. There's a lot. They're outs above average in terms of the Dodgers when Walker Buehler starts is in the negative. So you're already not off to a great start there. Carlos and I mentioned yesterday, they got probably the best defense behind him going right now. You got Kike in center field. Gavin Lux has shown a lot of promise at second base this whole year. Shortstop Tommy Edman, that's my guy right now. You got to ride him in the 6th hole the rest of the October. So, looking at this start for Buehler tonight, Carlos, I feel like it's hard to kind of gauge what we're going to get because I feel like we've seen a lot of some promise throughout the regular season. He shut down the Padres after that second inning, to give them 5 total innings on the day. Going into the cold weather here on the East Coast, it's game time temperature is going to be 48 degrees, like I mentioned yesterday. Change of scenery, facing a team that you aren't too familiar with, as the Padres were. What are our overall expectations for Buehler tonight?
Expectations, 5 innings. maybe give up 2 or 3 runs. Uh, that's expectation. Realistically, I think he'll be it'll be four innings. I think he will give up the 2 runs. You know, looking at the lineup against Bueller, Pete Alonso crushes Bueller. I mean, nobody all these sample sizes are pretty small. They're 14 at bats is the highest, which no, 15 at the bats is the highest, but 14 is Pete Alonso. But of those 5 hits, he's got 4 home runs against Bueller. He's batting 357. So that's so you know what? When Pete comes up to bat, I hope the bases are empty, and because if he's gonna hit him, he's gonna hit a home run most likely. So uh, who else hits him well here? Marte's actually been hitting well in the series, so I expect that to continue. Unfortunately, he's batting. It's a small sample, 2 for 6 against Bueller, 333, but he's hit well in the series. He hit well in the last game, so I see that continuing. Lindor has only faced Bueller twice, and he got a hit, and it was a home run. So very similar to Muncy against Severino. So I mean, these pitchers haven't seen a lot of these batters, and vice versa. So yeah, I mean, my prediction is, yeah, 4 innings, 2, 3 runs, and then it's going to be a bullpen game. I think it's going to go both ways. It's going to end up being a bullpen game by the fourth or fifth inning for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought up Polar Bear Pete because I saw those same numbers that you just read off. Looking at the sample sizes from New York Mets hitters, I'm trying to see who's hit this guy the hardest, and Pete's numbers just screamed at me from my computer screen. Four of his hits they've left the yard. It's potentially Pete Alonso's last set of games in Citi Field. If you say the Mets lose this series, he's a free agent after that. Maybe he has one for the theatrics. What's one thing that Bueller's has struggled with? I would say kind of his whole career, and especially this year, it's been home runs. That they're up a lot this year. He doesn't really have the punch out stuff. Even in that start against San Diego, 0 punch outs, 0 strikeouts that night. That's been a theme of Buehler probably the entire season. He just doesn't have it anymore, or at least this year, unless he reinvents himself. But Steve, I mean, after the NLDS, where we had some predictions, like, yeah, you know what? Screw what everybody's saying about, what they're saying about the Dodgers rotation. Bueller's going 6, 7 innings. I think we've tempered it down where we're just hoping that it's 4 clean innings from Buehler tonight. Am I wrong?
I would take 4 clean innings. If he pitches 4 innings and limits the Mets to a run or two, I take that. I think the big game grit of Walker Buehler is sort of intangible in this thing. So I'm not sure if he can call on his previous successes and somehow channel them tonight. We'll see. I'm still a little shell shocked from the series against Atlanta in 2021 when he had that swap places with Max Scherzer and didn't come through. It was kind of a shock to me because it's the first time he had not done it in the postseason. If you look at the game, speaking of Atlanta, the game he pitched down in Atlanta earlier this year, the game he pitched in San Diego, those were 2 really good performances. If you think Walker Buehler, if you can get something akin to that, I think the Dodgers are set up. I mean, I really believe that if the Dodgers win tonight, they're going to the World Series. I think tonight is sort of the fulcrum. If they don't win, I'd say it's 50-50. But if they win tonight, I think they're going to the World Series.
Yeah, I think what happens tonight sets up the next, 2 games because you have to imagine, we debated game 2's decision making very, very hard. We all agree that kind of the buttons weren't pressed right, but it's because the Dodgers, in the back of their head are looking at the series ahead. If Bueller goes, 4 innings like we're saying today, that means your bullpen's going to be used. Yamamoto, who has traditionally since he's been activated off the IL, has only been going, around 3, 4, maybe 5 innings. that means your bullpen is going to be heavily used tomorrow in the postseason again, back-to-back days. We already mentioned yesterday, none of these bullpen pitchers this season have gone back-to-back-to-back days. So if you're gonna save your arms like they did in game 2, have the off day. These guys got to be available for these next 3 nights. There's just no questions about it. Yes, having Jack Flaherty announced today as the game 5 starter, once it gets to that up to that point, helps because he's the only Dodgers starter that can probably get into the 7th inning if he wants to, and he's shown that when he threw 7 scoreless innings the other night in game 1. So I'm expecting the Dodgers to be aggressive. Steve, I also have to agree. I think if the Dodgers win tonight, it kind of sets them up for the rest of the series, especially the next 2 games where if they want to wrap it up in Citi Field, they can, just get 2 more wins after today if that happens. Or if they want to, be conservative, take maybe 2 of 3 or at least 1 of 3 and bring it back home. I like our chances there as well. I think they need to get the monkey off their back tonight just to get that game win, just to force it to come back to LA regardless. But I have to agree. Carlos, do you have any differing opinions? I feel like if the Dodgers win this game tonight, they're pretty much set up for the next 2.
Yeah, it's important because we got to get that home field advantage back. It's like you said. Roberts alluded to it during the press conference. It's a 5-game series. It's no longer a 7-game series. It's a 5-game series with New York having the home field advantage. So we need to get that back. And how do we get that back? By winning the road game. So yeah, we need to win today because then the pressure will be on tomorrow because it'll be a must win. So yeah, I'm reading some of the comments here. Pim, yeah, I just addressed that. Yeah, it's a 5-game series now, and today's game is super important. JP saying that he sees Buehler with 5 and 1 run allowed. I have it at 4 with 2 or 3 runs allowed. And Starcry says something about was it him? Oh no, Nando said that if Bueller's shaking the first, it's gonna be a terrible game. I mean, if he's shaking the first, I think the bullpen arms will start warming up. I don't think he'll be going too long if we get super behind.
Yeah, and I don't think there's no in between for both of these starters, and I'm going to include Severino in this as well. You're either getting shutout innings, low scoring game from both of these guys, or both of them are blowing up. And I'm more leaning towards that. Hey, we're probably going to see some offense in today's game because I think the Dodgers are just waiting to wake up the bats because despite scoring 9 runs in game 1, they didn't hit a single home run. Game 2, they start to see more power, but you saw them leave a lot of runners on base. They don't want to do that again tonight. Severino's had a history of giving up, a lot of runs, especially home runs. He doesn't strike out many guys. He doesn't walk many guys. He doesn't have many whiffs. So the Dodgers, when they start swinging, they're going to be looking for contact. And if they put the ball in play, even with the temperature drop here, they can put it over the fence. So that's what I'm interested for this game to see, after the first maybe 2 innings, if both starters look like they're kind of comfortable and in it, I think we're going to be seeing, an aggressive pitching attack and probably a low scoring game given all the situations and the factors that I just listed off here. In terms of what I'm looking at for the Mets lineup, there's a couple of guys to name off who could, pose a threat tonight. You already mentioned Carlos Pete Alonso. Another one that's getting a start today who we're familiar with is JD Martinez. JD Martinez in his career in the postseason has been one of the better hitters of our generation. Got a 293 average, 941 OPS, and 156 plate appearances. Obviously, we didn't get to see that postseason performer last year when the Dodgers were swept out in 3 games. But Steve, looking at this Mets lineup today, we've seen Lindor hit a home run. We've seen Vientos, take things personally, as he said in his post-game interview. Who are you looking at the Mets lineup that the Dodgers have to lock down?
Well, certainly those Alonso numbers are startling. So we have to keep him on the top of our list as guys we don't want to hurt us. I think, I think like Carlos mentioned, I think Starling Marte is somebody we got to watch. He had 3 hits in game 2. I think he's kind of heating up and was pretty cold for a while. So I think if he's kind of starting to feel his oats, we need to really watch. Because he's the kind of guy who's a quality ball player who could really end up hurting you if you look past him. So yeah, I would say keep an eye on Starling Marte today. He's a guy. I mean, Vientos is playing so well. Um, I would say he's playing even better than Lindor right at this point. So, I mean, that's a tough 1-2 punch there because they're both hitting. Lindor is hitting and Vientos is hitting. They're both hitting for power. You've got you've got to navigate through that. And I think if there's any traffic and it's the second time through the lineup, and here comes Lindor and Vientos, I mean, I think you got to think about making a pitch and move early. I don't think you can pull another Landon Knack kind of situation and say, well, we'll just walk Lindor and hope he can pitch around Vientos. That's a recipe for disaster, as we have found.
Yeah, and I look at the lineup. Not many pitchers go third time through the order anymore anyway. So I think that's the game plan for both of these managers today is like, hey, get through it twice, give me a solid 4 innings, and then we're going to go to the bullpen. Hopefully our offense is picking us up. It really just depends on how well the Dodgers bats are doing. If they're scoring a lot of runs and Buehler's cruising, hey, just let him go through a third time. See what you can get out of him, the rest whatever you can in the bullpen. But as we've mentioned, they are well rested. They are going to be involved today. And like Carlos said, they could be up in the very first or second inning in case if things are starting to get hairy for Buehler. Outlook for the series, if they win today, they got Yamamoto tomorrow and they got Flaherty game 5, potentially looking at a bullpen game in game 6 if it comes to that point. So I think as many innings as Buehler can give them today and Yamamoto can give them tomorrow will pay huge dividends for the rest of this series. Kind of looking at just the matchup today between both clubs, I'm very interested to see who kind of starts it first because how the Mets attack the Dodgers, low leverage, arms. Like my thought process coming into today's game, yes, the Mets scored 6 runs, but they didn't score a single run after, the third inning. They scored all of them off Landon Knack, who don't want to, go on Landon Knack here, but he's not who I imagine when they said, oh yeah, he's going to be our bullpen game guy. So Dodgers didn't really tip their hand too well. That game too. I mean, that's what I'm taking from that. And they kind of came back. Hopefully they can take any of that momentum into today's game. But, Carlos, thought process is, they haven't seen a single one of our high leverage arms yet. That has to, change today. They're probably going to see somebody, right?
Yeah, most definitely. I think they'll see the main guys, Kopech, Phillips, and Trinan. The whole thing is gonna. I think it's really gonna come down to our offense. We got to score some runs if we want to take all 3 and avoid this bullpen game because we might have like bullpen game for 6 and 7. So in order to avoid that situation, I think we need to one of these games. One of our starters has to go, and I'm talking about Buehler and Yamamoto. One of them has to go 6. And one of those games, the Dodgers have to score a lot of runs so we can rest the guys. And then on game 5 with Flaherty now starting on short rest, what's he going to give us? Is he going to give us 5? I don't think he's going to be as sharp as the first game. I mean, he was amazing. I just don't see it on short rest. So that's the big factor. The big factor is a lot of runs for the Dodgers, a lot of runs early. Kind of maybe you want to get one guy in just so that they can get in some rhythm because they haven't really pitched where we were addressed this on the last live or yesterday that they haven't pitched in like 5 days. So, I know they need to get some, innings in. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think we see Kopech, Phillips, and Trinan today for sure, no matter what.
We're going to start wrapping it up here. So that brings me to my favorite segment. We're going to start making our predictions in this one. Steve, I'm going to shoot to you first. Obviously, you bold statement, I guess. I don't know if they win today, they're very confident of going into the World Series. What is your prediction for today? What's going to happen? Does Buehler give us a good start? Does the offense wake up? What's your final line?
Oh, I don't know if I have predictions, only hopes, right? Walker Buehler is such a wild card. I think, playing that little game the Dodgers win today, if the Dodgers win today, if Walker Buehler survives 4 innings with fewer than 3 runs. I think if they can get into the 5th, put and just try to get a cup. Maybe you get 1 up down from Evan Phillips, and then you get Kopech and Trinan to back him up. You're probably going to be okay. I don't know what the story is on Hudson. I was a little chuffed that it was being used in that big win in game 1. I don't know why they used Hudson there. It didn't make sense if they were going to go bullpen. If they already knew they were going to go bullpen game in game 2, why are you using Hudson when the lead is 6-0? It doesn't make sense to me. Put in Honeywell, and if you don't trust a guy with a 6-0 lead, then why is he even on in the bullpen? But I think if you have the lead through 5, you're going to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree with that. With the Hudson thing, before I shoot to you, Carlos, I don't understand it either. Because why is Hudson coming into such a large lead? He's supposed to be one of your quote unquote high leverage arms. That's the reason why you brought him back. He still has some stuff. Like, he throws high 90s. He has some good breaking pitches. But it seems like at his age, given his injury history in the past and where he's at in his career, he can't pitch back-to-back days. So if he pitches today, more than likely, he's not going to pitch until, Friday at the earliest. That just seems to be where they're at right now. But Carlos, I'll shoot to you. Obviously we want the Dodgers to win tonight. We've had our, what we want to happen, and then we kind of had to temper our predictions. What's the final line tonight? What do the Dodgers do to get a win today?
Yeah, like I said, offense, offense, and offense. I think the score will be 6-3 Dodgers. I think, like I said, Buehler goes 4, allows 2 or 3, and then they're going to have the high leverage guys pitch, and we'll get control of the series again, 2-1. So that's my prediction: 6-3 Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm gonna go similar with that. In terms of offense, I think both teams come in today with a lot of energy on offense. I think the Dodgers, 1 through 3 hitters, with their MVP trio of Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman. I at least think Ohtani wakes up today. I think he does something impactful in this game, potentially even without a runner on base. We'll see what happens there, or if that weird streak continues. But I want to pencil in Buehler to go like 5 shutout innings, or maybe 1 run, 2 runs, but after, just what I've seen all year, it's kind of hard to ask for that. So my realistic expectations is maybe 4 innings and maybe 3 or 4 earned runs. And the Dodgers aren't going to let it get any deeper than that. They'll go straight to their bullpen. Severino's kind of on that same path. He faced 2 teams that aren't offensive first teams, the Brewers and the Phillies, and each team still scored 3 and 4 runs off of him. So I think the Dodgers offense, not to be a homer here, I think is miles better than both of those offenses. So I think they'll make Severino work. I don't think he makes it out of the 4th inning either. I'll say 6-5 Dodgers win today.
All right, I take that.
I would take an offensive scoring, and if they come out on top, Buehler was on the other side with a 6-5 loss last week. Maybe he gets on today's, with the win, or setting up the Dodgers for a win.
Fingers crossed on that one.
Yeah. So TBD on post-game show. If we're available, we'll definitely let everybody know on social media. You'll get an update notification on YouTube, Twitter, X, whatever you guys are calling it. Like we just mentioned in yesterday's show, we just reached 10,000 subscribers. So that's a huge milestone for the page as well. We can't thank you guys enough for all the support you've given to the channel this past year. Anyone that's not subscribed, please consider doing so. That way you can stay up to date. Roger behind the scenes is posting all of the pregame and the postgame interviews. DodgersBeat.com, Steve Webb. What do we got going on there?
Let's see. We got the Roberts interview from today. We also have Mookie Betts interview from today is up. Let's see. There's also Cody has his usual game previews up, so you can kind of know what to expect in today's game. So there's a lot of good content there, and if there's a lull in the game, there's lots of good reading on other things as well.
Yeah, guys, it's all connected. The meme, it's all connected. We got everything all in one place. We got the YouTube channel, the Blue Los podcast, DodgersBeat.com is a huge part of that as well. It's all connected. So be sure to check out all of it. Subscribe, turn on the notifications, and we will let you know what we're doing for the rest of the week. We'll definitely be here tonight. We'll definitely be here tomorrow and the day after that for that game as well. So other than that, we're talking about a Dodgers win tonight to put them up 2-1 in the series. Anything else from you guys, or are we going to end it here?
That's it. Let's go Dodgers.
All righty. And this episode was brought to you by Bet Online. Let's go Dodgers.